Who am I? I'm just a pastor's kid from the north side of Chicago. I'm Dr. Mary Manz Simon, and I'm currently living in Fort Myers, Florida, at least for the past 4 months. I grew up on the streets of Chicago. My dad was an inner city pastor a mile north of the Loop. Our parsonage was 9 miles north of the Loop. But Chicago itself didn't really trigger any points of my faith story. It was more that the church was the center of our lives. And my sister and I would take the subway and the L train. We'd have to change at Fullerton or Belmont on the red line to get to church and to get to confirmation class. So as 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, Dorothy, my sister, and I would go to confirmation class. She was 4 years younger than I was. But we'd be all alone on city subways and city L's, and that was just a part of our life. But I think that having that church background certainly introduced the concept of the importance of having a foundation, some core values, and what really matters in life. And it was really my mom's cancer that solidified that. She got cancer for the first time when I was 12. And my dad, as an inner city pastor, was really struggling just to keep the church alive. It was Chicago in the 1960s. It wasn't an easy time in the city. And so Dad kind of retreated into the church. The kind of life verse for me has been Jeremiah 29:11 that I wrote here. I know the plans I have for you. And God's words there have been kind of a path that I've tried to follow. And then I got to the point of being 32, and it was like, wow, God, what's next? And I realized that that verse in Jeremiah, God had a plan for me. God has opened doors for me that I could never have imagined. I felt badly that my mom died before she finished her doctorate. She was in plant physiology, a field I could never even attempt to go into. But my dad finished his doctorate. I was 4 or 5 years old when I remember him, the University of Chicago, and his velvet on the robe, the academic robe. And I think that was one of the reasons that I pushed forward to get my doctorate. I wanted to do it because I wanted that velvet on my robe. And I also wanted to finish because my mom didn't finish. So I started writing. I told God I was too busy to write a book. And look what he did. That became Little Visits with Jesus and got on the Christian bestseller list. And so a total of 3 million copies of my books later, actually it's more than that now. And I'm an incredible testimony of God's power. Because just think, if God can take my little words and take them across mountains and oceans into other languages, what can God do through you? How can he work through you? I was even an unwilling and unlikely candidate. I mean, I told God I was too busy. And yet what he has done, it is absolutely amazing. I mean, I only have to think as far as my time with Fred. Fred Rogers was an amazing person and an amazing friend for me. It started because I was doing a story on Fred, but that's another story. But he was responsive to God's call for his life. He felt God's call for his life was to work through children's media, and he did that. And what a great model for me. I feel like my life has just been, like the Old Testament prophet said, showers of blessings. Things and experiences and people I could never have imagined have happened to me. You know, as we get older, we think about how we've made a difference, what has been something of significance that we've done. I mean, I'm so blessed to be able to look at bookshelves and see book after book after book that have my name on it. But telling a faith story, that's kind of like leaving a personal arrowhead. You can learn so much about the people who left this arrowhead, just from the notch and the blade, what they ate and where they hunted, how long they lived. And yet a faith story is kind of like our personal arrowhead. It tells what God has done through us and with us and for us. He sent Jesus to be our Savior. Jesus was born, lived, died, and rose again. And to have that gift from God as our center, I guess when it comes down to it, Jesus is our arrowhead. And what we do because of having that core and that foundation, that's really what matters in life.